So we're about to start. Basically, if you're not sure where you're at a teach-in that's being put on by the student committee of Save City College. And the idea is to get some information out there about what is this that's going on, like what are the different political things involved, and just maybe to educate people that it's not simply an administrative problem that city has. It's something much bigger than that, and something that we have a say in.
All right. Well, what we wanted to do is just ask a few questions. Like, does anyone know who the ACCJC is or what they do? Just like a brief answer. I know there's some people out there. Okay, and so what he said is that I asked who the ACCJC was, and he said it's an undemocratic private organization that accredits the universities here in California, the community colleges. They also do most of the West Coast, and I think they do like Guam and the Philippines as well. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about the ACCJC. Our friend here pretty much gave a pretty good synopsis as far as Save CCSF is concerned. I was also curious how many people here know who Bob Agrella is? Maybe by a show of hands. All right, so it looks like maybe half of us. And so he's really important. He's making a lot of decisions at the school, and so we're also hoping to touch on this today in our presentation as well.
All right. Okay, so who is the ACCJC, right? It's not a very good acronym. You can't make a word out of it. But this is a body that has major control over what's going on at City. In response to the financial crisis in 2008, there was increasing cutting of education, all kinds of different places, including junior colleges. And in small part, this resulted from some lobbying from private interests, from student loan companies, and from for-profit colleges. So this led to budget deficits all around the country, and some of these private interests also fund the ACCJC. So this is part of a nationwide offensive by special interest groups that would benefit from privatizing education. So privatizing education just means you like pay to play. So for instance, instead of City, so City could cost like $400 a credit instead of what it does now. And so these ACCJC wants to change City to make up for the way decreased money. And the way it wants to do that is by restricting City back down to just a transfer college, a junior college that's going to pipeline people from high school into four-year universities. And so what City is right now is much more than that. It provides all kinds of different services. It has ethics studies, it has labor studies, it has things that aren't in that narrow model. It provides lifelong education. And so we see it as an attempt to reduce City down to playing this one tiny role as a way of reducing the expenditure on it and leaving a lot of the job training and stuff like that to private for-profit colleges who lobby for this. So basically, we see the ACCJC as like the front lines of implementing a different vision for what education can be.
All right, so why is it that we're being attacked by the ACCJC? Ryan told a little bit about why that is. So state funding has been cut by $50 million over the last 5 years. The ACCJC is here to make sure that we cut instead of fight back to possibly fund our schools more. And what they do is they usually come after stuff that's outside of STEM. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. So it's part of a nationwide offensive by special interest groups that would profit from privatizing education. As we showed in the last slide, ACCJC is funded by Heald College, University of Phoenix, Lumina Foundation, which is a group that pools together private education money. And then what you really see is why this is an attack and actually privatization is that none of the ACCJC's recommendations have anything to do with educational quality. City College has actually been ranked, what is it? It's number 11 in the United States in terms of its educational quality. So it would make absolutely no sense why this private accreditation body wants to close our school if we're giving one of the best educations in the United States. And so really this is a giant move away from a community college, a college that's intended to serve the community, to a junior college, one that's intended to turn out students as fast as possible and looks at students more as consumers rather than as students.
Okay, so a lot of people have the question. So why do they say that CCSF should be closed, right? What's their side of it? So the basic criticisms that they've made is institutional ineffectiveness, so failure to implement some of their recommendations. So this means that that any kind of resistance to what they're trying to do, they interpret as like a failure to be an effective college, because their metric is not about education and teaching. It's about administration and people doing what they tell you to do. They also criticize insufficient reserve funding, which means basically like city doesn't have enough saved up. We think that that's mostly a result of budget cuts that shouldn't be happening, and also it's ignoring the coming influx of money from Prop A. That money, the special trustee who in many ways is implementing ACCJC's vision, said that he refused to use that Prop A money on classes and educational stuff. So it's not clear what that's going to be used for. And also a big part of the report was that there are too few administrators at city. So to me and to us, this is very shocking to look at a junior college that's prioritizing having enough sections to have like the tens of thousands of students that go here have their classes. To say that people should drastically change the budget to increase administrators is just trying to change what the school is, in our opinion.
All right, so the ACCJC is a rogue agency. They are vastly, vastly different than the other accreditation agencies we have in the United States. They have numerous conflicts of interest. One of the people who came here to look at the school and to do the inspection, I forget, whatever it was, the inspection team that came here had one member who was the spouse of the president of the ACCJC. So this is a glaring conflict of interest and is actually illegal according to their charter in the Department of Education. And additionally, 40% of all California community colleges have been sanctioned by the ACCJC. This is a rate that is incredibly higher than the rest. 80% of the sanctions are the ACCJC, and even though they only make up, I think, a fifth of all the accreditation bodies. So this is really just privatization veiled as school reform. It's not intended to help the educational quality. All it is intended to do is to cut community colleges, and that's what they've been really effective at doing until they came here.
Can you explain privatization for people who
Yeah, go for it. You're on.
Yeah, privatization, I think, is a tendency where what used to be state services become sold off as for-profit businesses. So it happens all over the world in all these different kinds of cycles for complicated reasons. But usually after a big financial crisis, there'll be a political question of, are we going to respond to this with privatization, or are we going to respond to this with greater state services for people that are out of work and stuff like that? So I think right now, education is just one of different areas that are being privatized. Paratransit in the city is one, for instance.
Good one.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. So I just want to, I think this slide of like what the ACCJC is doing is important because it means that it's not serving a function. Like, to me, there's a legit function for like making sure that colleges are not sketchy and shady and wasting people's time and money, as actually many for-profit colleges are, ironically. So I think that's actually a legit thing that the government could do, but that's not what's happening here. That's what they say they're doing, but in reality, they're implementing a political mission through supposedly an oversight. But even if you read their documents, it's not about educational quality. It's not about safeguarding the student from being took. It's about administration and reduction in services, actually. Okay, yeah. So this is we want to like kind of paint a picture for what San Francisco looks like with the ACCJC get what they want. So there's going to be fewer CCSF campuses. So this is like in a world where either CCSF is drastically cut or it's closed and then likely reopened several years later in a very reduced form. So in this world, there's fewer CCSF campuses. Already the California College of the Arts, bless you, and University of Phoenix have been bidding and researching the land around the City College campuses. The California College of the Arts has been buying up land around Mission Campus for a while. So there are private colleges that are ready and able to take over these buildings. So when it's not going to lie there abandoned until we refund it, it's going to be reincorporated into a totally different institution. There's going to be fewer course listings outside science, technology, engineering, and math. So some of the liberal arts, some of the things that really enable people to understand the world they're in, especially the political part, especially ethnic studies is always the first thing cut. Those things are, have been attacked and will be decreased. They don't fit into a junior college transfer model. things are lifelong education, things even like job certificates, I think are likely to be cut. And so all these things mean more students are going to be forced into private education, which has incredibly high loan rates and incredibly low job, percentages of people who get jobs out of it. So that's like your University of Phoenix, your Heald, your technical schools, which are very expensive. Private nursing school is like famous for being very expensive and low quality. And there's going to be less community control of the school. So this is now going to be, instead of having like the level of input, which has existed until recently, it's not the best, but it exists for faculty and staff. It's going to be a centralized curriculum that's simply about taking people into universities. And so we think this is will be a terrible change for San Francisco, and then it will happen if these recommendations get implemented. And just a slight point, like I think this is part of a vision for San Francisco where it's not accessible for working class people, it's not accessible for people of color that grow up here, and it becomes a tech playground for middle class and mostly white professionals that are in Silicon Valley and that get bussed out. So the Google buses is one vision for San Francisco, and I think City College keeps alive what the city has been in the working class side of the city.
Yeah.
All right, so what has been the impact so far of the accreditation process? We've seen the loss of some democratically elected department chairs. The reason they want to get rid of these is because if you elect a professor to be the department chair, that professor now has an obligation to the people who voted him in. Therefore, he's not going to want to cut their classes. He's going to want to keep as many course listings open, and it really helps, especially some of the departments that are easier to target for the forces of privatization. It helps us keep all our classes open. So they went to that immediately because it makes it harder for them to cut the school when we have democratically elected chairs. Additionally, the Board of Trustees, partially due to pressure of our group Save CCSF, we continue to put pressure on them, and the faculty did too, to not cut the classes. And when we did that, the ACCJC recommended that they disband the Board of Trustees. So that's what happened. So we've also lost democratic control over our school in that way. And what they did is they elected Special Trustee Bob Agrella. He pretty much has unilateral control to cut the school now, and he's receiving not only $1,000 a day, but over $100,000 a year salary. And so if they're asking for us to find money, this is obviously not the right answer to pay someone this much money to cut our school. And meanwhile, we're still paying our workers here on campus less than minimum wage. And in my opinion, this is completely inexcusable and really discredits this agency as doing anything to safeguard the educational quality of our institution.
So just an example of like the changes that have already happened at City College is the mission statement of City has been rewritten. So the citizenship preparation has been removed. So this means for people who come here, take classes to be able to take their citizenship tests, take ESL classes. This is being removed from the mission. From the mission statement. And then also completion of requirements for the adult high school diploma and GED, and lifelong learning. The entire mission of lifelong learning has already been removed from the mission statement as part of decreasing. So this is it's basically a thesis statement for the changes that they want to make to this college. Is that if you need ESL, if you need a diploma, if you're out anywhere outside of the train from high school to college, university, then you're out of luck. You're SOL. And then the only thing they added to replace all these things is programs and services supplementary to our mission as resources allow. So, and given in mind that they want a large savings and they're not planning to increase the budget, resources don't allow.
So let's talk about who this man is who is doing all these things to our school. He is very sad because we have been so successful up until this point. So he basically has dictatorial control over our school. He can cut unilaterally. He's publicly sabotaging Fight Back, probably part of the reason why we had so much trouble getting this room. I'm glad that we're all here today. But he also, thank you to Bob. But he refuses to appeal the ACCJC ruling based on the Department of Education warning. The Department of Education also actually told the ACCJC that they are operating in violation not only of Department of Education regulations, but are also acting in violation of their own internal policy. And when that letter came out, he said, oh, this has nothing to do with our school. There's no reason to think twice about how the accreditation body is essentially breaking the law in their own policy, which is obviously just part of the ploy to privatize our school and really shows his connections with the ACCJC and private education interests.
What do we have as an alternative vision to the one that we've been laying out? So, I know it's gloom and doom and scary, all these things are going on, these people are trying to do all this stuff to City College. But what we've been fighting for and what our vision is the immediate lifting of all sanctions for City College. So this means that for a couple of years now, ACCJC has put sanctions on City, demanded changes, and now is saying that City will be closed. So we don't simply demand more time to meet their recommendations. We demand that all of their sanctions be removed because we don't think they're a legitimate body, and we don't think their changes are good for City College. So we don't recognize that as legitimate. We want Bob Agrella, who's the special trustee we've been talking about that's overseeing this process in many ways as the spokesman for ACCJC on campus, removed. There used to be a board of trustees that was, for its flaws, democratically elected. Bob Agrella was imposed. There's no say from anyone in San Francisco except the mayor and the person who appointed him.
Bryce Harris.
Bryce Harris. So we want him removed and the board of trustees reinstated. And we want the reversal of the cuts to classes, faculty, and staff, which do not need to happen unless you're going to hire these administrators and unless you're going to waste the Prop A funds. So we want the Prop A funds used to reverse those cuts. And in general, we want City College to remain an affordable school which serves all the community of San Francisco, which is much, much more than a conveyor belt to the university.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about why we organize and how we've been successful up until this point. Like I said, we've been around here for more than a year when we saw this attack coming as they first came at the diversity departments. But what we had was we had a really big rally at the Department of Education, as you can see there, and then shortly after that came the Department of Education letter to the ACCJC telling them they were in violation. And so this letter, what it really did is it backed up the policies and the politics of our organization. They cited the same flaws that we had seen and we had been trying to rally and organize around. And then we had a City Hall sit-in, and only a few days later the San Francisco, that should say city attorney, forgive me, filed 2 lawsuits against the ACCJC for illegal business practices. And so that also came out of basically, that document that the city attorney actually released had some really great wording. It looked like even possibly something that we might have produced ourselves, which was really, really exciting. And then what we've seen in the past few weeks, I forget how many weeks ago it was, is the state legislature formed a committee to audit the ACCJC and might actually have an injunction against them. So there's not only are we doing as much as we can, but now we have all these other things that have come out and been born out of our organization's politics and our actions. And so the main point here is that all of this supports what we've been saying for over a year, that this is a rogue agency and they have no legitimacy over our school. And it's really important that we continue to organize. And then there's also an AFT lawsuit also going on from our faculty members here, which is in line with our politics as well. So tell them why to organize.
And also just shout out, it was the Department of Education letter was in response to a very long 400-page 300-page criticism of the ACCJC's methods that AFT 2121, the faculty union, put together. So I think the combination of going through those methods and public pressure is very powerful. But props to the union for doing that. Can I get it? Oh, there it is. Okay, so we wanted to bring up some examples of the fact that that actually this kind of stuff has been stopped, and not just in the distant past, but in the recent times. So in Puerto Rico, for instance, in 2011, there was a large attempt to privatize and downsize higher education there. And they attempted to lay off huge amounts of public work, tens of thousands of public workers of all kinds, but especially in education, at one time with little notice, and also to increase tuition by 300% at one time. And so in response, there's huge amounts of organizing. It's a fascinating movement, but basically there's a sustained student strike where students control the campuses along with some faculty and some staff. people came from all around to like throw food into them. It was like a festive thing, and you know, after a month or two of that, the government backed down and the universities remained accessible, and in fact they received slightly increased funding. So this is after like the decision had already been made, the funding had been cut, and then it gets reversed from organizing. Okay, so just to sum it up, what we're trying to get across is the nature of who we're dealing with, and it's that the ACCJC, which hides under cover of a body that's trying to help people get good schooling and the government not waste money, is a rogue agency. It's violating federal regulations. It has a highly political mission that very few people, if they knew what it was, very few people on this campus would agree with. It's funded by private education and special interest groups. It's a very important point, and feel free to track down on our website the research that we've done, so you don't have to take our word for it. But basically that there's for-profit colleges donating money to this body that regulates public community colleges. And that we think this is highly related to the increasing political mission of this body. And they want to cut or close our school. That's a mission. It's not dependent on the quality of education here, and it's not about increasing the quality of education here. It's a political mission to cut or close City College. But then, so that's the gloom and doom, but the big takeaway is that organizing so far and petitions and these different approaches that people have had has been successful already in swinging parts of the government to be against this process. And that further organizing, especially if more students can get activated, can and will win and stop this from happening.
All right, let's talk about next steps. Let's talk about what we all can do. The easiest thing is to text Save CCSF now. Does anyone want to double check that that is the right one? Because I did it off of memory. Okay, thank you, Sharon.
Follow Save CCSF.
Follow Save CCSF? Okay. I'll correct that in a moment, just so it'll be up there for everybody. So we also have a petition in the back. Sign it. We're going to go take it to Bob Agrella and demand that he step down and that we reverse all the cuts. We'll be doing that on the 22nd. So look out for flyers, or if you're on the sign up, you'll get an email or a text message. And then the other thing is, if you guys are really moved by my fantastic presentation today, and you guys want to help do student organizing, we're having a general assembly for students. We have those every Thursday at 4 p.m. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it off to some performing arts. So you guys still here? If you want to raise your hand, who's doing performing arts presentation. And then, I know we're running a little late. We were planning on having a discussion so everyone could ask questions. So if you do want to stick around, we've got another hour before the next presentation, and I'd be more than happy to do a discussion with you guys. But I'm going to hand it off to them for now. So thank you guys very much.
All right, cool. We won't take up too much of your guys' time. Good morning, everybody. My name is Henry Wang. This is our partner, A.D. Sanders.
Hello, I'm Alan Dion Saunders. I'm Jackson Lee.
And thanks for joining us today. You guys are a beautiful crowd, and we're all in for the same cause. And let's give it a round of applause again for those two gentlemen that are up here.
Yeah.
It's so important to have gentlemen like these two to be leading an organization like this. See, I went to UC Berkeley, and how many of you guys remember back in 2008, 2009, when there was the tuition hikes at UC Berkeley, and the students were barricading themselves in the building? How many of you guys remember that? See, I was one of the leaders, one of the student activists for that. And I actually got into student government. I got on probation for 1 year for participating in that. But you know what? It was worth it. Because if we let government succeed, it's horrible. So we're here, let's explain about what's going on today for what we're about. So we're here today to tell you about the award-winning Performing Arts Center. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with that. It was planned for CCSF here. And it was a designated project with Prop A money in 2001 and 2005 that $50 million was actually allocated for this, and they decided to remove this, which is horrible. It's actually something that we think is illegal, and because voters, California voters, us SF citizens, us SF residents, Bay Area residents, California students, we voted for this. And they gave us this money, something that students, professors, faculty have been working on for the last 20 years. We're really fortunate here today because we have Professor Mrs. Judy Hubble over there. She's been teaching voice here for 35 years. And what she's explained to us is there's a lot of professors, including her, that have been postponing their retirement because we want to see this art center go up that's already been proposed to us. So these centers right here, it's actually our largest center. We have the Diego Rivera Theater. How many of you guys know about that? That fits about 300 individuals. It's great. But the thing is it's whenever they have board of trustee meetings or whenever they have different types of meetings, there's a lot of people turned away because there's only a 300-person capacity. So for this building here, every single person here in this room today can have access to it. We can all, if you guys want to do a big, as this organization grows bigger and once this all goes through, and we're going to continue to have organizations like this, other causes, we can all meet there. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give it up to these two gentlemen. These guys are incredible. They're some of my best friends. Let's give it up for A.D. Sanders.
So today we came to talk to you about the Performing Arts Center, which is right now also under attack, just like City College is under attack. And a few facts about the Performing Arts Center: not only will we have more rooms for the performing arts to have things like meetings, and we also will be able to rent the space out and use it as need be for the Arts Center. Currently, there's already been $20 million spent on the project. It is held up for multiple reasons. Currently, the administration is trying to use the rest of the funds for miscellaneous reasons to make City College look bad, knowing that they are already breaking the law. So we're really trying to spread the word about this. A few details about the Performing Arts Center, besides the fact that we've already been granted the money. It was two bonds that were voted on by San Francisco voters that also dealt with the Chinatown campus, the multi-use building that we're in right now, and the Wellness Center. So all of this was encompassed in two different propositions. Now, considering that we already have 3 other buildings of those propositions finished, why do they want to hold up this last one? And I personally think that they're taking the opportunity to corrupt or attempt to corrupt some of our faculty members into making City College look bad in the long run. So I think this is directly connected to the fight with the ACCJC. By the way, we do have an email list in the back here that I hope you can sign, and we'll keep you updated with our information as well. And I hope to organize with some of our family over here so that we can disseminate information together and we can bring both causes together to make this a stronger fight. Now, this Performing Arts Center has already won design awards for leadership in energy and environmental design. It's called LEED. So this is an award-winning facility for its green attributes. I just want to throw that out there because there's no other performing arts center in America literally that has been designed to its standard. So it raises the bar as a performing arts center, you know, and I think that's what City College does. We set trends, you know. Back to the history in 1968. I knew that we were one of the first community colleges to have ethnic studies, but to know that we were the first is kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of a joy. But personally, I have a connection to the arts. At one point in time, I didn't know, you know, what I was doing with my life, and I didn't know really what was going on. And I'm not really going to go into too much detail, but one thing that did help me fight through all that was being a performing artist. And currently, I'm an engineering student, but honestly, I can't do one without the other. I can't be an engineering student without being a performing artist. So, I mean, that's just a little bit about me. Did you want to add? Did you have anything you want to say? This is a journalist from City College. Come on up and share a little bit about yourself. Any points that I might have missed?
Just real quick. So, go ahead. Okay. Oh yeah. I remember what I was going to say. So, as we know, there's how many of you guys heard of like Expressions College or also SAE, these other private performing arts schools that are here in SF, or the Arts College of San Francisco? Is that the Arts College? Is it San Francisco Academy of Arts, where they're buying up all these buildings, they're buying up and just taking over the place and charging students ridiculous amounts of money for, honestly, for stuff that they can learn here from the professors. we have Professor Miss Judy Hubble. She's from Juilliard. She got her master's from Juilliard in New York, and I know she's more qualified than all of them. And those students, they could be coming here, guys. Let's give it up to Jackson.
Hi everybody. As my friends have told you guys, I'm a student journalist here, and I actually wrote a story about the Performing Arts Center, and my friend designed the cover for it. It's called Performing Arts Center, Hanging On to the Dream. You can grab a copy of it at the end if you want to learn more about the issues behind it. I talked about the statistics, how Bob Rugella exaggerated the operational costs and the actual cost to actually build the building. And yeah, I talked about the issues in the paper, and there's images in the paper. The Performing Arts Center would have included a full-on theater for the students, a recital hall, and a dance studio. So this building could have been used by dance students, theater students. The 4,500, there's about 4,500 performing arts students here. Like this includes the music department and the theater department. So 4,500 students, and there's like 4 practice rooms for them available in the other music building. It's not accommodating. It's not really practical for the amount of students here at City College. And yeah, if you want to read more about the issues, it's pretty, it's just right back there. Okay, thank you for your time.
We thank you for our time. We don't want to take up too much time here, but I know it's a lot of information, but there's tons more information. Just if you could please just sign on the mailing list if you would like to stay up to date with what's going on with the PAC struggle. We also would like to thank for being welcomed into being able to let you guys know about what's going on. Yeah, so thank you. Thanks again.